Praveen Chakravarti to explain what exactly is it that the Congress is upset with the government about. You've got Ukraine and Russia at war. You've got interest rates that are rising globally. You've got inflation which is spiraling. Europe and the United States heading towards a recession. India and the world facing very serious macroeconomic headwinds. The rupee is slipping undisputedly. The government says we're doing what we can. What's happening globally is beyond our control. Why is the Congress so upset? Praveen Chakravarti.
Thank you. See, first, I think you started off by saying the economists are not worried about the fall in the rupee. It's only the politicians. I think that is wrong. The economists, and I first speak more as an economist today, and only after as a politician. There is every reason to worry. Yes, a slide in the rupee to a certain extent is perhaps beneficial for exports, and that is well known and acknowledged by economists. But this alarming slide of the rupee is simply a reflection of the confidence that investors have on India and on the government's ability to manage the economy. Now, why is economically a falling rupee bad? Because when rupee falls, you also import inflation through higher oil prices. If you import inflation through higher oil prices, the common person gets hit. Then the Reserve Bank of India gets under pressure to step in and stabilize the rupee, which means they will use the foreign exchange reserves to stabilize the rupee. They have already used about $80 billion of foreign reserves of India to stabilize the rupee. Is that amount well spent? Absolutely not. So it is wrong to say that economists are okay about this alarming slide.
Can I just butt in to say that I was only verbatim quoting KV Subramaniam, who we interviewed on this broadcast, and he insisted again and again that 80 is only a psychological barrier, which is only something that politicians are concerned about. It wasn't my own quote, it's something which came directly from an interview we did. But let me put that larger question to Syed Zafar Islam about the charge that you're making about importing inflation, having to spend crucial foreign exchange to try and stabilize the rupee, and therefore Praveen Chakravarti landing the charge of the government not doing enough to be able to stabilize and strengthen the Indian rupee.
First of all, thank you, Rahul. And let me first correct Mr. Chakravarti, because it's not falling rupee. I must correct him. It's rising dollar. Had it been falling rupee like what happened in 2013, then probably rupee must have depreciated against all the currencies. But just see, rupee has appreciated against many currencies. See how other currencies have fared against dollar. It is India, actually it's much better position compared to even Europe. Euro compared to even GBP, they have depreciated 13–14% in 1 year compared to India barely 5.4%. So it is unfair to even make that statement that falling rupee, it's rising dollar against all the currencies across the globe, with one exception, maybe ruble. But rupee is there, is there.
That's a good counter, because if we compare the fall in the Indian rupee with other currencies, Praveen Chakravarti, it is a fact that the rupee has fallen lesser than other currencies. I have that data coming out on your screen right now. In comparison with the yen, in comparison with the euro, in comparison with other global economies, the rupee has depreciated lesser.
Let me respond to that with 3 points. First, let us not be clever by half by saying it's a rise in the dollar and not a fall in the rupee. The fact of the matter is more than 3/4 of trade is invoiced in the US dollar. The exchange rate with the US dollar is the single most important factor for an exchange rate. That's number one. Number two, there is something called the real rate, the real effective exchange rate, which measures the Indian rupee against a basket of 40 currencies based on our trading pattern. Now, if you look at the real rate, it is still at its highest levels. It may not be as high as it was in September, and the real index is the opposite of the rupee. When it's high, it means the currency is weak. So the real index is at its highest levels in the last 10 years. So that is, so number two, that's the second fact. Number three, I want to point out an article that was written in 2011 titled "The Rupee, the Fall in Rupee, a Mirror to India." And the last line of that article was, "Rupee's slide against the dollar, is it only the US to be blamed?" And it concluded saying, no, it is us, US, that is to be blamed. It was written by
now this is
the
problematic.
Chief Economic Advisor to the Government of India, Dr. V. Anantha Nageshwaran.